Recently I was granted the opportunity to interview Troy N., the creator of KinitoPET. If you haven't played the game, I recommend doing so as there are some spoilers ahead. With that aside, let's get into it. How is your day going?
I am doing good. I mean, it has been pretty crazy of late with how well the game is doing, so that's been a sudden thing I have to balance on top of regular life things. But yeah, it's been good.
How long have you been planning/creating KinitoPET?
Planning? Years. I mean, like many years. I got the idea for the modern game like 4 years ago, and the game under the same name, but not a virtual assistant, much longer. However, I kind of learned how to make games through the trial and error of KinitoPET. There were many different approaches. I would say the build that hit Steam took a good 2 years to make. But like I said, I am in school, so I could never really put all my focus on it.
What inspired you to create this game?
I mean, many things inspired me. For how Kinito interacts with a user, my biggest inspiration was probably Buddy Simulator's demo. I remember watching that game's demo and liking how it interacted with a user. Other than that, there are many things I took inspiration from when I was younger, like the fear I got when I saw DDLC's mechanics back when I was just 11, to how One-Shot used its mechanics to interact with a desktop, and of course, how can I forget the biggest reason Kinito exists, Bonzi Buddy. I mean, even the name of Bonzi Buddy has the same capitalization used in KinitoPET. Heck, just look at the websites to compare them. I took a massive inspiration from that old assistant.
What was the most difficult thing to code?
The most complex thing I coded was probably the MS Paint scare. To do this scare, I first recorded my mouse input using a custom C number script. This data would record the mouse position and mouse down state. Then I reverse engineered that code to play back those recordings of each letter of the alphabet. In-game, I then open up the MS Paint app and take control of its position using its position and offset the mouse by the pre-recorded positionings to spell the player's name. It was super cool when I first got it to work.
Was it difficult to pull up the player's address and camera?
Yes and no. Difficult in code? I mean kinda. But the code itself was relatively simple once I did the research into specific libraries and functions. That was the hard part, to be honest. The late 3 a.m. days, where I do nothing except browse Microsoft Docs and forums, in search of solutions to my weird computing needs. But then in terms of Windows, it's super easy. Windows kinda just lets any software do what it wants in terms of opening things and simulating keyboard presses, hence why the scares can even happen. To be honest, I am kinda surprised Steam allowed me to do it. I was expecting the game to have to go through some back and forths with Steam to get them to understand that it's not a virus. Turns out they understood the game, which was super helpful for me.
When did you start to learn coding?
I mean, the earliest point where I was doing computer trickery was probably when I was younger and modding my Nintendo Wii. That was where I started to learn the basics of computers and programming. I then started working with a Unity game engine when I was around 10 or so. There were many unfinished, overly ambitious projects. I eventually moved to the Go engine like 5 years ago, only because my old PC couldn't run Unity. I am glad I stuck with it though, even though it wasn't as popular back then.
What sparked your interest to create your own video game?
Bored kid with a computer and far too much passion for their own good.
What did you think when you first released KinitoPET? Any concerns, worries, etc.?
I was super worried people won't understand it. I mean, the game is kinda odd and I get that. Like, it cuts from realistic FPS gameplay back to digital horror. To someone I can see that it might feel all over the place, but to me I like that contrast, hence why I made it in that way. The other concern was with the whole taking over your computer scares, and that people would think it was a real virus, which has started to happen a bit. I was overall super surprised with how well received it was. I thought it would be positive, on Steam at best. I was blown away that it's such a high ration of like to dislike.
Is there going to be a sequel?
Of KinitoPET? No. KinitoPET is a complete story, although it is a complex one. It is complete. However, there is some stuff in the works for mods and expansions that could happen, but nothing major is in the works in terms of KinitoPET.
Any other future plans for KinitoPET?
Localization and mod support are the main ones for the game.
I get that it is incredibly difficult to make a video game, and I've known some people who've given up on their ideas. Do you have any advice for future game developers?
Procrastination is the biggest threat to creative works. Please don't let it kill your ideas. A game with perfect code is a game that doesn't release. It will have flaws and it will have issues. Accept that.
Would you like to take a few moments to promote yourself and the game?
My name is Troy and I made the game KinitoPET. It's not for everyone. However, if you enjoy meta horror, I feel like you will enjoy the tricks the game pulls. Thank you.